the loneliness, just loneliness in its, in what the enemy has intended lonely to be. It always follows with isolation. We did talk about that on Friday. And when we're isolated, we tend to, when we're lonely, we feel we become isolated, or we isolate ourselves, but that also really becomes our safety zone. You know, we get comfortable with loneliness, we get comfortable with that isolation, and because it doesn't push us outside of ourselves to to deal with ourselves and to invite others into that world. You know, it becomes a self-protective position, which is self-limiting and ultimately self-harming. And so I think the things that the message from this particular chapter is very powerful, especially for moms. And I believe that especially when you're earlier in the, you've got littles at home, I think that loneliness can be a very frequent companion, because for so many reasons, and I don't need to explain what those reasons are to you, certainly, because I'm sure that you've all been there. As full and surrounded by life as you are, that we women, we need to feel seen. We need to feel heard. We need to feel nourished in our souls, in our hearts, and that can be really challenging at times, and I hope I remember to share just something that God had put in my heart. I have it written in my notebook, which is back at the house, but I don't want to delay in recording this one more day. So I'm just going to go with it and hope that I remember some of what I wrote that I really believe was a message specifically for you guys. But I'm just going to kind of leaf through here really quick to see if I can recall a few of the things that we talked about. But I love this on page 17. She says, loneliness and the way it makes us question whether we are lovable is an issue that we in the Girls Club have each had to face, because we've all known deep loneliness in our different spheres of life. So as we read Sally Clarkson books or Joy or Sarah Clarkson books, and we're like, wow, these people have it all together, and I think we tend to think that their lives and Sally's motherhood to these women were that it was perfect and very well planned, and everything was articulated all accordingly. But that's not really the way that it all worked out, And so they're just sharing with us their experiences, the things that they learned, the things that they missed even. And but even in their sphere, these relationship experts, they still all had to deal with facets of loneliness in their life and confront it and deal with it. And so it's something that where I just want you to know that you're not alone in it. You're also not alone in the fact that sometimes you can, and having a lot of friends, sometimes you still feel lonely. Just as Faith brought up the other day, she feels often that she has these women that are here ahead of her, but that she also has women here that she's outgrown. And so oftentimes, especially when you're really growing in life, we do sometimes outgrow certain friendships and friendship circles. We develop different we develop more perspective based on our experience. We develop different interests even at times, or we have situations that force us to grow in life, struggles that we go through, and tests and trials that come, that if we're going to have victory in them, we are forced to grow and to change and to become. And so and so those things happen. But what's beautiful about that is that some of those friendships, we can use some of those friendships that maybe we're outgrowing a little, they can become maybe not places where we're spending as much time, but maybe even places of ministry, and still places where we can drop a card or a note, or maybe even get together in more like a group setting type of thing, and and be able to sow into people's lives. I think part of friendship, because I read it continually in the scriptures, especially in the New Testament, about that we need to be patient with those who aren't growing, be patient with those who aren't mature or who are immature in Christ and behaving so. And I feel like so many of the letters from Paul and even from Peter and James, really call on us to, to become more mature and to continue to find peace and joy, and to continue to bring love into friendships and relationships, even when people are maybe driving us batty, or they're not growing, or I know in the back of my mind I'm always like, you should know better, or wow, I'm carrying all the slack here, couldn't you at least offer to help out in some capacity? In the back of our mind sometimes we feel that way, but it's important to note that Jesus just continues to call us to a higher place there in those instances. And in those instances, we just need to have patience, and we need to use our judgment of how much time to spend in those friendships, but we can still continue in those friendships, because you never know when someone will become inspired to want to pursue more, or to, or what they're going to be able to receive from you. You have so many gifts to give. So, so anyway, she says down here, some of the greatest gifts of the Girls Club have always been, first, a shared willingness to support each other through our breakdowns, and a desire to help one another past the surface emotion to where the deep doubts and questions must be addressed. I think that one of the in the story, in the intro, in this particular chapter, her mama asks her, "How is your soul?" And I'm trying to learn to ask my own girls that question on a regular basis. How is your soul? How is your heart? Because you know what, I think especially in today's world, and all this craziness that's going on, and the things that we juggle, and as we go through transitions and transformations in life, I think it's just so easy for us to become empty. And when we become empty, we become lonely there too. And so I'm trying to get better. I'm seeing Marky, and trying to learn how to navigate a new marriage, and especially with her husband, who's in the Coast Guard. So she's here and he's out at sea, and and so many questions going through. Or with Jessica, my 13-year-old, how is your soul, honey? How are you doing today? For whatever drama that has come across her life today, often not caused by her, but she gets pulled into it so much from friendships and friends and youth group and whatnot. Or Manuela, my precious daughter-in-law, who's living with us with my son, just newly married, and as they're going through this whole thing of getting all of her immigration papers. So she's so far from home, from Colombia in South America, and and everything here is a new experience for her, and so uncomfortable and stretching her. And so I have to remember that even though she's smiling, to ask the questions that go past the surface and try to pull out, how they're feeling. But then in doing all of that, and this goes for you, especially for you young moms too. So you're pouring out continually, but it's so important to find the things that nourish your soul, that keep you filled up, so that you have more to give. I feel so often as moms, it's so easy for us to run on empty. I know that I've been suffering from that for sure for the last couple weeks, and really trying to figure it out, because I do come out here early in the morning, spend time with Jesus. I'm reading scripture and praying the Spirit and a few minutes of worship. I always begin with gratitude and praise, and but still finding that my heart was it just wasn't getting filled up enough. And so I had to ask myself, Jody, what is missing? What is it that you really need? And and so that I could make some adjustments. And I found that I really had suddenly just kind of gotten away from doing some things that I enjoyed. I was so focused on pouring out and keeping up that I just wasn't taking some time for myself, doing some things that really fill me up, just things that I enjoy, just some creative type of projects. And so, demands coming at me from every side. And so, it happened to all of us for sure. I was really prompted as I was, well, I guess this is maybe more of chapter 3 and talking about mentorship. and women and the strength of women. But I do want to encourage you also in this community, in this book study, to please reach out to one another. Please feel free to reach out when you have questions, or you're going through struggles. We are all friends here, and we're learning about friendship, and I just want to encourage you guys to reach out to one another. Every one of us has life going on and different things happening. Some of you, in fact, there's so much life going on that you've only had the opportunity to go through these replays and watch at that point. So I just really want to encourage you in that place to to reach out, to use this, to use the group chat, to ask questions, and or share things if you're comfortable, or to go ahead and message me, or to message one another, because this is an opportunity for all of us to grow and to go deeper, and to develop a girls club even here, just within this book study, which I think will be a wonderful, beautiful thing. In fact, I would love for us to one of these Fridays, I would love for us to just come together physically and meet here, even though I know July's supposed to be hot, but it'll still be wonderful to just come to the house, and I'll make some treats, and we can have some coffee and tea and just get together and chat about what we're learning, what we're experiencing, and really get to know each other up close and personal, and that would be awesome. So let me know if that interests you too. But I'll continue to read here. She says, we love each other well in part by helping each other get to the root of the pain that could easily lead us into more isolation. She says, ultimately, we have to challenge the voice that speaks in our loneliness, challenging what it whispers to us about our worth. I think that that's one of the places that loneliness and that voice of loneliness attacks so definitely it attacks our identity, which means it attacks our worth, our value, our personal value, how we see ourselves. I think that often it can lead us to feel like, wow, nobody understands, and I don't want to burden other people with how I'm feeling. I don't want to burden people with my issues. Oftentimes it will take the form of, nobody else is really going to get this, or I must be really weak, that I'm really struggling with these challenges. Look at how awesome she's doing, because you see their Facebook or their Instagram, and their children are all perfectly dressed, perfectly neat, the house looks perfectly whatever, and it's like, and we compare our struggles to what we're seeing on other people's social media, and it really hurts us, because we assume that that's their actual reality of life, when in reality, that's not the case at all, because we all have things that we're dealing with, and anyone with little kids does not have this perfectly ordered, ultra happy, joyful, every moment, peace-filled existence, because that's just not how it is with kids. We all have diapers that explode, and we have kids when we're trying to have quiet time that all come running down, and somebody fell and bruised, broke their hand, or got a cut, or somebody bit someone else's elbow, or these things happen to all of us, and and that's just life with littles, for sure. But then as the kids get older, it's challenges in different ways, for sure, and requiring different things of you. And oftentimes you just like when you had your very first newborn baby, and you're like, you don't know what to do when they're still crying, and you've tried everything, and you're like, I don't know what you need, please talk to me, I often feel like that with my young adults, because I'm a new parent of young adults. I'm a new parent of new marrieds. You'd think I was an experienced mother of teenagers, but honestly, right now with Jesse, like, I am often banging my head on the wall, being like, God, I just don't even know what to do. I don't know how to reach this precious girl's heart. I don't know what to do. And so, and so I believe that's just that part of motherhood. And so that's what I know as a woman, and and those things, those feelings of inadequacy, they can lead you into loneliness, and then the loneliness feeds upon that, and it's like this I'm not very good with my vocabulary here today, but it's just this cycle that repeats over and over and continues to self-perpetuating cycle. That was the word I was looking for. And so, you know, and so Sarah addresses in here, why are we lonely? And I think that she talks a lot about the internet, and how, you know, we have a lot of superficial relationships because of the internet. And I definitely agree that that's true. I think that texting has, texting and Facebook messaging, all that kind of thing, I believe that that has really replaced, in many cases, real, actual connection, deep connection with one another, because it's so easy to just send a text and not actually be responsible for that other person's heart, or not feel responsible to go deeper, like a phone call or just sitting across the coffee table from somebody would. And so I believe that that does definitely create loneliness. I think trying to keep up appearances through social media, I think that creates a deeper sense of loneliness and failure and inadequacy as well. You know, I think that we feel like we have these relationships and these friendships, but really they're pseudo friendships. And you know, and that's I agree with her in that exacerbates the issue. But I think that another proponent that that leads to this is just the busyness of life today. You know, we're all so busy trying to do this or be that or accomplish this, and we have kids signed up for this activity and that activity, and we get ourselves involved in, you know, responsible on this committee, or we volunteer for this, and our job is requiring this of us, and, you know, we want to blog and we want to do all these different things, and so so we don't take time to really deeply connect. You know, even at church, you know, today the norm is, you know, you run in, you go to church, and then you get out, and there's like this little percentage that really volunteers, which is awesome, but then those volunteers are often doing everything, and so then they're exhausted. And so, you know, it's but where's the community that used to be? And so I feel like today, I think that sense of community is harder than ever. But what's beautiful is, you know, in what we're learning and what you're going to experience as we continue to go forward in the chapters here, is that it's actually that friendship is so much about initiation and inviting, you know, inviting people into your life, inviting people into your heart, learning how to ask the hard questions, learning to ask the questions that take you past the surface of what you see into the heart. Or even with people who are difficult, you know, the hard to love people, you know, learning to ask questions that go past that prickly surface, that self-defense or offendedness, and go ahead and go deeper and draw them into your heart as they draw you into their hearts. And so that's what this book is really all about, is learning how to cultivate friendships. I don't know about you, but for me, for sure, in watching I'll do this. Learning and watching my girls, you know, we did a lot of American Girl stuff when the kids were little, and you know, we watched all the movies, we read all the books, the girls had the dolls and whatnot, and you know, I believe that each one of them just expected to have these friendships that were like the American Girl movies, or like Little House on the Prairie, or some of the other things that we read and watched. And it was very hurtful and disappointing very early on in you know, in their lives, realizing that, you know, constantly looking for that type of a friendship that they never found, that didn't just come together for them that way. And I think even in my little ones, that had led to a profound sense of loneliness beginning at that point. And I agree with that in that, you know, I always expected that perfect friendship to just kind of fall into my lap, and wondered what was wrong with me that it didn't happen, or what was wrong with me that I often just felt too drained to carry a friendship. Or, you know, this friendship started, but this person took and never gave back. Or I started this friendship and this girl was just mean and backstabbed me. Or I started this friendship and you know, we just had differences. So it's you know, so I'm sure that we've all experienced those types of friendships. But I'm excited because as we proceed through this book, it's going to teach us each to really to navigate all those different scenarios without losing a part of ourselves. But love is a risk, but it is what we're called to. You know, Jesus doesn't talk about the risk in love. He just talks about the fact that he's called us to love. You know, 1 Corinthians 13, you know, Paul says that we're to believe the best of everyone. And it doesn't mean that everyone is going to act their best, behave their best. It doesn't mean they're going to treat us the best. It doesn't mean that because we honor them, that they'll honor us. But I do believe that when we're pouring out these seeds of goodness, that if we're doing it for Jesus' sake, we're doing it for love's sake, that those seeds are going to come back to us. And they may not come back right away, but ultimately they will. I've definitely seen that in my life, especially in the last 5 years. God has brought beautiful friendships to me after so many failed attempts to establish relationships and friendships, and you know how they just kind of fizzled away over time. But God is faithful, and he's brought some beautiful things into my life, you know, in recent years. I'm so grateful for them. But I've also learned that they're not perfect. The people aren't perfect, their friendships aren't perfect. It takes a lot on my part, it takes a lot on their part, you know, but I think that what Paul's talking about there in 1 Corinthians 13, where he talks about believing the best in others, is that we become good finders, that instead of looking for what people are doing wrong, we start looking for the good things. We have to look past the surface to be the bigger person and to see the beauty in others, to see their gifts, their uniqueness, and the beautiful ways in which God made them, whether they you know, whether they're behaving just right or saying the right things or making me feel awesome or what. You know, I think that our friendships are all going to become richer. Little ant friend there. Our friendships are all going to become richer as we become the people who are the ones looking for the good in the situations. So let me flip through to see if I had anything else here. Let's see here. Oh, I like this. Towards the end of her story here, on page 22, Sarah says, during the days following my mom's visit to Oxford, I weaned myself from the online world that had distracted me from my sense of isolation, and I made myself, yet once more, try an in-person Bible study at church. I did that last year too, and I so didn't want to. It was like, okay, I know I need to do this, but I don't know why. I'm just kind of like, you know, it's a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And in the Bible studies that I enrolled in, they weren't really Bible studies. They were both, one was books and one was like a marriage group. I ended up with really special friendships coming out of both groups and connections with women that I didn't have before. And it was awesome. In fact, one of the friendships I developed, we're meeting again for coffee this Friday, and we meet like every couple of months. It's not like a constant thing, but my life is so much richer having her in my life. My life is so much richer having some of these women from a book that we read together. It's called Uninvited. You know, having those friendships in my life. And so I get that here because I really didn't want to do it. And even for the first 3 weeks, I was like, oh, I got that book study tonight, and like dragged myself out of the house because I didn't want to go. So I mustered my introverted courage and resolved to ask a new person out to coffee each week. I knocked on the door of my neighbor down the dorm hall, and I scheduled Skype dates with my siblings. Crucially, I also banned myself from early morning time online. I think that is so important, and I really want to come back to that. Early morning time online, and became more diligent about my times of prayer, of early quiet, of scripture reading. It was those early morning spaces that helped me to answer the second question, am I lovable, more than ever before. And all I'm going to say of that second question, am I lovable, that is 100% has everything to do with our relationship with God and our searching the scriptures for all the answers, which are there. Yes, you are lovable and you are His. And the more intimate that relationship, the more richly you feel loved, the more love that you have to give out to others. But the last thing I'm going to say on chapter 2 here, and then I'll just create a new video for chapter 3, is I love this. I mustered my introverted courage and resolved to ask a new person out to coffee each week. When I restarted this journey of personal growth a few years back, you know, the one thing that I had learned from Terry Savelle Foy was that action cures fear. And so when I'm feeling like super not motivated, or I'm feeling empty, or I'm feeling lonely, you know, or just, well, any of those things, or, you know, my self-image is really hurting, I find that I need to do something that stretches me. But as soon as I take that kind of action, everything begins to change. Even just planning this book study, you know, part of that was just, okay, I don't really feel like I'm capable or equipped of doing this. I know that my administrative skills have a lot to be, yeah, they need a lot of help. But, you know, I'm not a technology guru by any chance. I'm not a professional speaker. I only know so many things. But, you know, but just the action of going through and doing it gave me so much energy and so much more courage. It was why I started making those, you know, those few-minute videos that I've done over the last couple of years. Every one of them is scary. Every time I put my face out there, it's super scary, because I'm an introvert. I'm pretty good by myself. I enjoy spending time by myself, and I treasure it, you know, because I'm never by myself anymore. And so, you know, and so it was, you know, but taking steps like that, it changes you in such a good way, and it provides and it energizes you, and it's really scary, you know. One thing I think I probably regret not doing when my kids were little, and that was trying to join some kind of a mom's group at church. I always was like, I don't want to do that. Like, you know, we're going to talk about what kind of diapers you wear, like, you know. But I'm sure that I missed out on a lot of really rich experiences because, you know, because I just didn't do it. And so, you know, things like that look scary, I would often just really back away from. So now when opportunities present, I really try to just step out and, you know, listen for the Holy Spirit, but just really try to step out and embrace it. And sometimes it's awkward and I fall flat on my face, and sometimes it's so uncomfortable. But in every single instance, I've grown. My world has become richer. My confidence has grown. You know, what I'm capable of doing has increased. And so, yeah, so I just really want to encourage you, like, Sarah's cure for loneliness wasn't this, like, great prophetic, yeah, I don't know if you could see that, but a giant branch just fell back there. That's crazy, and I'm really glad that I wasn't sitting back there, because I almost did. I think I would have gotten crushed by a branch. Protection is a good thing. So anyway, you know, so her answer wasn't this like great prophetic thing. Her answer was actually taking action and putting yourself out there and finding friendships through it. So I just want to encourage you in that same thing to, you know, to start reaching out. You can start right here in this community to reach out to one another. Yeah, go grab coffee together, or ask me for a coffee date, whatever, you know. Like Nikki and I, we actually got to spend a few minutes together on Saturday afternoon. We had a garage sale and she came and bought something, and we got to connect with one another. So, yeah, or Zoom back and forth to one another, FaceTime, you know, write things, post pictures, whatever you want to do with that group connect is great. So, with that, I will end this video and come back to, oh wait, so I'll just start the next video with it and come back to chapter 3. So, love you guys.